I'm Sarah Ferrer.
I'm Samantha Ferrer.
And we are
Two
When I think of a flea market, I think of the variety of items being sold and how each of these items ended up there somehow. You know, they all have a story, and we wanted to create objects that have stories that people can connect with.
Singular. The most basic phone you could get. And then they switched to these, like when smartphones were invented, it's like the fancy smartphone. And then these are the ones my dad would get for me at the flea market because I'd always lose them or break them. And these were like unbreakable. These lasted a long time.
Let me see.
These Nokias.
Oh yeah, no, we have the other ones too.
I used to throw this shit on
this shit.
Oh, and this one
was good. Yeah, these were like the.
I mean,
these are
my screen.
The flea market phones we used to buy. They're like $20 or whatever, $30.
Here we go. Here's like one that's not broken and fucked up.
This was mine. These were actually in Chinese. We had to like figure them out. You see,
You had to learn Chinese?
China Mobile. We had to like figure out how to switch them to English. Texting my like 7th grade boyfriend.
Meet me after school. These were our like.
Yes, it was.
I feel like we had these the longest.
Mine.
I had a Fall Out Boy ringtone on this.
And the Jamster?
And then they had the camera on
Not
the front.
even. I
You
just recorded a song.
You could take a selfie with the camera in the front.
I bought like an SD
These were our
card.
first phones.
Yeah. And they had covers on them too.
I love how small tech and like I miss these days, you know.
You know, I'm not sure what will stay and what will go. It's not just dependent on the people who live here to decide that, considering how many people are constantly moving here and how many people that have been living here are getting pushed out. We have friends that have moved to Orlando or Georgia, and the longer we stay here, the more people are leaving. And there's almost this, I wouldn't say it's a fear, but I don't know what Miami will look like in 20 years and how much of what I love about Miami or what I connect with will still exist in 20 years from now. So we really wanted to create these objects that have a piece of the history of the lifestyles here, yeah. And of course, all of it, some of the work is like satirical, some of the work is kind of like an inside joke, you know, you have to be here to know, or you have to know what it's about. But at the same time, I think capturing the realness of Miami, the good and the bad, is really important too.
I'm making these boxing gloves. Like I'm gonna make little hanging. I'm gonna make a mirror. I bought these mirror parts to do like these hanging boxing gloves. These are like my tests. They're gonna be slightly smaller, but I'm gonna do like all the different countries that like, you know, represent everybody in Miami. Yeah, because Miami's built by immigrants, whether people want to believe it or not.
I'm making a yardstick drink vase. It's like a flower vase that's one of these yardstick drinks. Have you seen any of these before?
Yeah. Oh, senior frogs.
Yeah. So when we were young, like my family would always go on vacation on cruises because it was like cheaper than leaving Florida. Or like going up north, I feel like. It was just convenient for everyone. And my cousins, like, but when we were all underage, would go to like Senor Frogs, wherever the boats would stop and just get super wasted. And I think, like, seeing my older cousins do that, I really looked forward to it by the time I was 21. But then like by the time I was 21, I was already drinking, so it wasn't even like that big of a deal. I just saw it as like a trophy.
Maybe it's not and is not and has not been as much of a kind of cultural hub as it was maybe 15 to 20 years ago, but everyone that we've spoken to about the project that has been older, there's people that used to go to the flea market every single weekend. The flea market used to have events. They even used to have like a boxing ring where they would have amateur boxing fights.
Yeah, and if you think about it, where could you go to experience all of that now in Miami?
I mean, everything from food to do groceries, buy produce, to electronics, to
Antiques.
There was like car shops there. It was like a central hub where literally you can get anything, everything, pets.
There's people who would specifically go to vendors for a specific thing they sold, whether it was a type of parrot or bird or a gun. There was that connection with the community that existed, that
even us, we grew up going there. We weren't going every weekend, but I think that sort of culture of like these sort of hubs that bring everything together, I don't think they exist like they used to. So I think there's a disconnect between how we experience the city now and how people experience the city back then, because some people have really fond memories there, and
everybody has a story about going at least once.
Yeah, and not only that, I think there's like this sort of convenience that used to exist to be able to go to one place with so many vendors and get what you needed to.
We've been planning this for at least 4 months, I would say.
Or longer, I think participate in Feria Clandestina every year, and we've really gotten to understand the audience that the fair brings in, the collector base, and the kind of objects that people feel drawn to within our work that people tend to buy from us. And I think a part of our practice has started to become this sort of homage to the city, and we end up doing some research and getting inspired by our own memories, or other people's stories or things we read about. And I think we wanted to create a project where we can work with production again. We kind of wanted to play with that a little bit and make a bunch of smaller objects so that we can allow more people to purchase our work.
Yeah, the fair being one of the only free art fairs that goes on during Art Week brings in a lot of local people and a lot of people that have interest in art but don't really know how to start collecting, and sometimes are scared to invest a larger amount of money into a piece of art. So I think it's really great to make this collection of smaller objects, making the work more accessible to more people. And I think Feria Clandestina is a great place to do it because we can have so much fun with how we choose to exhibit the work.
Along with just like making works in multiples, there's the aspect of it being that we can kind of use a motel room and create the kind of space we'd like in it. Last year we played with the idea of like an installation, and we used the furniture that was already there to create the ambiance of a girl's bedroom. But this fair always allows the opportunity to push the room to become whatever you want. And we like to play a lot with installation and creating environment and kind of creating that sort of ambiance or mood atmosphere that can help create a placing for the work, a setting. So I think thinking about how to set up and having fun with how to do that really helped inspire the idea as a whole.
Yeah, and because we went to the flea market, we got a lot of inspiration, just in seeing how they will just put anything up for sale in any way they can with whatever they got, whatever furniture they could find. So we're gonna have a lot of fun installing the work for sure.
And keep on. And now I'll just record. Oh, fuck up. It's still going. Yeah. It'll harden. I have faith. The mold's just gonna, and then the next time I pour it, I gotta make sure whatever the hell is wrong. All the mold making.
Yeah, mold making, although we are able to do it and know how to do it, it's always just a tedious process for us.
Yeah, cue the clip of us and our plaster disasters.
We've had one too many plaster disasters, but that's part of being a ceramicist sometimes and part of production. We haven't produced so many objects in such a long time, so it's kind of fun.
Yeah, it was fun, but I think we're already at the end of it, and now I'm ready to just get back to making some more like individual sculptures and pieces. It's funny, it's like whenever you're working, the grass is always greener on the other side. It's like, man, it'd be really fun to come up with a project and make a bunch of production work. And now we're like, I don't want to make a mold for another couple months.
It first starts with coming up with the idea for the piece and then figuring out how to make it out of clay, depending on what it is.
And in terms of production, you want to think about whether you're going to be, like how you're going to be mass producing this. Sometimes it's on the wheel, sometimes it's through a mold. If it's through a mold, you want to be pressing it. You want to be pouring it with slip, which is like a liquid clay. So it's like each object has kind of like its benefit of being produced in a certain way, so it's deciphering all that while making the object as well.
Yeah, and then after you make the object, you have to clean it up and make sure that you can make the mold out of it. And then you make the mold in however many pieces. And then after that, you could use the mold and then recreate the object as many times as you want. The mold kind of disintegrates over time after many uses, so you really have to make the most out of it when you got it. And then after the piece is made, we have to wait for it to dry, fire it once, and then after that we have to glaze it, and then fire it again. And the reality is that at any point in the process, you can make a mistake and then you would have to start all over again. So it's fun, but at the same time...
and within this project itself, we have around about 20 objects. So when you think about producing 20 objects in multiples, it's been a lot of work. But again, I think this was kind of the best solution to the idea we had and what we wanted to bring to the table, to the fair this year. Yeah.
It's like, why should we care? Why should we? It makes me question, what are the things that we should care about, and why should we care about these places? And it's because it's culturally and historically significant to the city, and I don't want the culturally significant places to be the Brickell Mall. I don't care about designer fancy stores and restaurants sometimes. They don't, what are they providing to the city that isn't just for tourists? And of course those places aren't just for tourists, but you know, when tourists come here, that's where they're gonna go, because that's what they think is the places to be and go to.
Yeah, like more and more the city develops, is kind of becoming like almost like, I mean, people probably do not see Miami this way, but the way it's evolving makes me feel like it's becoming this sort of generic city where it's all about, Miami really projects that it's all about luxury. Even a YouTuber I was listening to for a while moved to Miami, and she said it was because, you know, it was like the it place to be in, and Miami has that sort of energy. And even the people, the transplants that have been here the past couple years, they are all excited about how the city is evolving and stuff, but it just feels like there's been like this sort of beginning of this erasure of the culture here. And
Yeah, like what is the cost of the development? What are we losing in order for things to be developed?
Yeah, so I think we grew up here, this is our home, and I think we just want to immortalize those things that we feel are important parts of the culture here, because we just see them disappearing. And that's why maybe it's not important to anyone else, but it's important to us, and that's what we'd like to do with our art. So.
Yeah.